Hi, Mark.
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Dave. Oop. You're unmuted.
You're still muted.
Oh, he's still muted.
All right, there I am. I'm
Oh, there you go.
Hey, there he is.
I wasn't. I'm looking for Zoom, and we're not on Zoom. Here we are.
Hi, Dave.
Hello. What's going on?
So this is Mark's episode of personal validation, revenge on me. The story goes about 5 years ago. Mark got into flat Earth, and we were at his place in Montreal, having some libations, having quite a few libations, and he got into this conversation with me, and I just was like, nah. I can go so far with you, man, but the flat Earth, no, not going to happen. And we had a lively discussion. I'll put it that way. But the next day when I woke up and the fog cleared, what I found interesting with the conversation was I was like, well, hang on a second. Mark brought up some good points in terms of like, how the hell do I know what I think I know? And that started this whole thing now. Then, of course, the events of 2020 happened, and I'm suddenly now on the side of somebody saying, like, I don't believe anything that I've been told officially by any official sources. And mostly because I find when you get into these, when you start questioning these things, or you start to present certain information to certain people, they spurg out hard. And this seems to be the subject that hits people the hardest. It screws with their reality. So, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. I expect this to be an interesting conversation, especially in the comments. Anyone who wants to pose any questions can send us a super chat. Random username has already sent us something that said, I was promised this chat would be lit like the sun that is our light bulb. And yes, I expect the the chat to be spurging out, because you mentioned Dave Weiss' name on X.
Yeah,
and all the haters come out.
Dude,
So Dave,
the trolls that follow me are amazing. Like when I do a show, they'll show up and comment on everyone's comments. So they'll find shows that are aired, like pre-recorded shows that are aired before I find out they're up. I'm like,
they are committed.
These guys are, yeah. And it's amazing. On my Facebook page, the flatearthpodcast.com, the haters come there, but Facebook has labeled them all top fans, because the people that are on your site the most are labeled. So all the haters, whenever I see a top fan post, I'm like, oh boy. And all of the haters are top fans. So they're spending their whole lives over there hating, which has gotta suck, right? But
I literally had...
Hold on one second. Your story about how you got sucked into this is a very unique story. And by that, I mean, it's the same story for everybody, right? Flat Earth is stupid. I'm not looking into it. You're an idiot. And then you look into it and you're like, damn, what's up with that? So go ahead.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, because someone said it to me and I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then I went to try to show them how stupid they were and learned some things and was like, oh, okay, wow. I had never thought about, if there is a continuing theme on our show, it's questioning your priors. How do you know what you know? And what is it about certain any topic that sort of reflects subconsciously the paradigm that we're in, and that you've never thought about it. And this one, I mean, this one really gets people emotionally involved. Like, you mention it and they will have a visceral reaction. And I think that's because it challenges their fundamental belief system. And I think the scariest belief systems are the ones that you don't even know you hold. And I think anyone who's been paying attention over the past couple of years, because the biggest question is always, and obviously this is conspiracy month for us, and we've done 9/11, a bunch of other ones. This is the biggest one. And everyone says, why would they lie? And if you've been paying attention over the past 3 years, my question is, why wouldn't they? They lie about everything.
That's a good point. You know, they lie about everything. Why wouldn't they lie about this? Well, what's the motive to lie about this? And we're going to get into that. But I heard a great quote today, and it said, once you realize everything's an illusion, you'll find the truth, or vice versa. All right? Once you find the truth, you realize everything's an illusion. This world is not what we think it is. Everything is upside down, except people in Australia. There's so much
Sure, Jay, can we flip your screen?
I don't want to say deception, but I'll say wonder, right? Because this world is an amazing, wonderful, incredible place that we have. Literally, we have magical superpowers. Okay, I don't know how else to label them. We have amazing powers that they've hidden from us, and they don't want us to know any of that. So, why would they lie?
Yeah.
Let's get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later. But today, it's like you walk into a room and there's slaughtered bodies everywhere. Okay. And you look around and you're just looking around. You go, why would anybody do this? I'm not going to believe it I'm not going to believe all these people in front of me are dead. Okay. Until I know the motive. Well, that's ridiculous. They're right there. The evidence is right there. I'm going to show you the evidence, right? They say there's no evidence for flat Earth. There's tons of evidence for globe Earth. I still have my 3 Bitcoins. No one's been able to show me one globe proof. I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof, right? There's tons. There's endless flat Earth proof. Endless. So when you take the time and look, when you break that programming, when you when you let your ego down and go, yeah, my whole life's a lie. I believed a bunch of nonsense. And another thing all flat earthers have in common is we all look back and go, how the hell did we ever believe in that nonsense? Like, how did they pull it over? We're like, I'm shocked every day when I look back at the heliocentric model, because the people that believe in the globe don't know anything about it. Because if they knew 1/10 of what an average flat earther knows about the globe, they would be a flat earther, because the globe is the most ridiculous thing ever. So,
well, that's what I was going to say, because I find it really interesting. Once I did the deep dive, the rabbit hole, watched all the videos, I kind of got bored, because once you understand the fundamentals, there's not really much new. It's these basic principles, and it's not like there's new discoveries going on the daily basis. So what I started doing is watching debunking videos. That got more interesting. I was like, okay, I wonder if there's anything there. I'm going to watch all the debunking. And they're so frustrating, because it always seems to be one of two things. It's either Dunning-Kruger completely, and they've never heard the arguments from someone like yourself, or it's trust me, bro. It's some kind of science that I don't know molecular geometry, and I don't own a telescope in Antarctica that can, circumnavigate the whatever. So it always ends up either they don't know the argument, or it's some level of just believe someone else who's smarter and further away, and you cannot personally verify it. And so that's why that's the most interesting. There's a couple, obviously the greatest hits for me, 2 things that I find. The first one, and I've seen some of your videos that are only possible in the flat model, which is the sun vanishing into the horizon and not setting.
Well, hold on a second. Video. I think that actually could happen on a ball. I think it could happen on a ball. If it could happen on a flat Earth, if we are able to live on a ball, the reason it happens on a flat Earth, there's no exclusion of that in the globe. But on a globe, the sun is required to keep on moving. The sun goes down, 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 and it should keep on going. But it doesn't, right? It doesn't. So, but as far as the sun fading out, it could happen on a globe. I'll give the globe that.
How would that work?
Well,
how would it not disappear behind something?
Now I got to think about it. Now I got to think about it, because on a globe, the sun's not getting any farther away. It's just
it's staying in the same place, and we're spinning around, and we're going
falling over
backwards.
It's
disappearing. Right? Exactly. Right. So it could not vanish.
I retract my statement. I tried, but here, this is proof. I try to give the globe
steel man, and you can't do it. Yeah.
No, I try to give the globe every benefit of the doubt. Every benefit of the doubt. Right? On a globe, they're on a ball this big, a basketball, a beach ball, a yoga ball, or the Earth. There is a set amount of curvature. There's a formula that tells you if I move an inch this way, it drops down, half an inch, whatever. Okay. And so on a ball, on a globe, 24,901 miles around, like they tell us, there is a required amount of curvature under perfect conditions. And if those conditions are less than perfect, waves, atmospheric, density, it would only make it shorter. It can't go farther beyond that limit. That physical limit, right? Yeah. So here's the ball. You can't see my face. You can't see my mouth, right? And you can zoom in, and you can't get by this physical limit. That's a physical limit. So when we see things beyond that physical limit, all they can do is yell refraction and gravity. Okay, and when we know it's not. Have you guys seen this picture? This is now we're up high, so you have to calculate that in the curve calculator. All right, you have to put your elevation in, because higher you are up on a flat Earth, the farther you can see, and the higher you're up on a ball Earth, if you could live on a ball Earth, you should be able to see farther. But we can see these mountains. Okay, there's 8 mountains. They're over 700 miles away. We can see all of them in their proper positions, in their proper shapes. And whether you can see the bottoms or not, I could explain to you why you can't see the bottoms, because there's topographical and atmospheric layering. But the tops of these mountains should be over 40 miles. 40 miles, right? People don't even understand what 40 miles is. Okay, 40 miles below a physical curve, but we can see them. And all the refraction. This is a balloon up at 120,000 feet. That's 20 miles. This is friggin' high. You can't even fathom being up this high. Twice that height. That's how far the tops of those mountains should be below, according to globe math. Game over. Right. Earth is flat. What do you want to talk about now?
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think once the claim was made, and we'll get into the who, what, and why, and all the sort of meta questions, which is where I'd really like to focus. Once they said this is what it is, and we know, and we've left it, and we've measured it, and everything, then they're locked. And when something, once you lock yourself in a position like that, I'm way more comfortable in the who I think the people with a proclivity towards thinking this way are, which is really like 200 years ago, we would have been the explorers. We had all of human history where people were discovering the earth, discovering new things, getting on boats, sailing off the edge like Columbus and finding new territory. And then we're told in the past 50 years, no, it's done. We know everything. We've been everywhere. Shut up. Do what we tell you. And people like myself, I find that really hard to accept. And so I'm like, no, there's, again, I don't know what the parameters are, where this thing ends or whatever, but I don't like someone telling me this is it. Whether it goes forever, who knows? Whether extraterrestrials is more space, I don't know. But I'm more comfortable in the I don't know than in the we've settled everything, we've discovered everything.
Well, Dave, one term I heard you that I heard used, I think it was when you were talking to Eddie Bravo fairly recently, was true earther, which I think is actually a more apropos term. One, it doesn't come with any kind of baggage, and it's kind of pointing towards that idea that it's like, okay, look, let's just assume that we don't know what this is. We just take that as a given. We can tell what it isn't. We can certainly speculate on what it could be, but what we really need to be doing is trying to figure out what it is in actuality, to stand in actual truth, rather than accepting, theories and positions given us by people who like the Fabian Society and then the Club of Rome and a few other people that we've talked about this month, where it's like, I wouldn't trust you with my kids, man. Like I'm certainly not going to trust you with data pertaining to reality itself. Like that doesn't compute to me.
I'm with you. I totally agree. Was there a question in there?
No. So I was going to say with the sun vanishing, even because I'm dubious of everything, and so I'd seen it in several videos of yours, but I'm like, okay, well, that's Flat Earth Dave. He's gonna have a motive for showing that. But then there's another YouTuber. He has a big show called Ghost Town Living, where he lives up in the valley at a ghost mining town in Nevada, and he was showing a video of the sunset and didn't even notice what he captured. And I tried to find it, but it's a 2-year-old video, and you can clearly see the sun just vanish off in the distance. One of the best videos I've ever seen of that, and it's from someone who wasn't even aware of what it was they were catching. So that's one of the proofs, or I call them proofs, but one of the things I find there, it's like almost incontrovertible. And for anyone, like, we're going to go through these, but for anyone who isn't familiar with the arguments or doesn't know why someone could not be retarded and still find this interesting, Dave has an incredible channel. If you want to give it a plug, where he's got video after video after video after video, where he goes through example after example after example of all the basic, what I was referring to, Dunning-Kruger type stuff, where it's like, maybe you just didn't hear these arguments. Why does it look like ships are going over the curve? Why does it look like the sun is setting? What is angular resolution? What is gravity and versus buoyancy and density? So there's an endless reference that, Dave, please go ahead and plug that, and then we'll move on.
You can find all my channels, including DITRH, which is all short videos. For me, to drag somebody to a movie. Let's go to see a movie about something you're totally not interested in. You're gonna have to be tied up and knocked out to be taken there. So flat Earth, that's how people feel about flat Earth. So my videos are for the short attention span, the people that aren't interested. Oh, I can watch a 2-minute video, a 3-minute video, and you just watch my videos. And most of the 99% of them are under 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and you'll keep watching more and more. I'm kind of like a crack dealer. You just have a little bit, just a little bit. And then next thing you know, you'll be wanting to watch the 5-hour Iwaranon video twice in one day. And once you start seeing the information, once you put down your ego, as I said earlier, the whole world opens up. Everything changes. Okay. What difference does the shape of the Earth make? Well, flat is not a shape to start out with. Okay. Flat is a description of level, horizontal, and horizontal. Every test for axial rotation or curvature has proven the opposite. Okay. We can test, we can go to the Bolivian salt flats at 100 miles long or whatever. There should be over a mile of curvature. There's none. It's flat. Okay, we do laser tests on ice with lasers at different distances, and then we put the camera on the ice, inches above it, and we can see all the lasers on the same plane. That's impossible. Okay, impossible. So
it should be impossible.
It is impossible. Oh, it should be possible. Right, it should be impossible if we live on a ball. All right, I'm speaking from a ball point of view. Right, that's what we're watching here. The sun went down, 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 and then it stopped. It stopped, and it just sat here. Okay, I got this super sped up. Okay. And it just sat here and it faded out. It took its light with it. Right. It took its light with it. And people are like, I don't understand that. That's right. You were never taught to think like this. Okay. That you were taught that light travels for billions of years. That star I'm looking at right there, it burned out 100 billion years ago, but its light is still traveling to us. It's not spreading out like light does. It's not getting dimmer. It's not getting dimmer as light does, as it's required to do over distance. It just stays as a perfect dot. Okay. Think about this. Yeah. We live in the heliocentric system. Okay. We live in this crazy spiral galaxy, right? Where besides we're spinning, that's the slowest motion. The Earth is orbiting 66,000. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to show you. The Earth is orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour. Excuse me. We're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour. We're moving in all these different directions. They also tell us that most of the stars in our 100 billion star Milky Way galaxy are binary stars. That means that the stars are orbiting around each other. So imagine this, 100 billion stars, 80% of them, or whatever the number is, are binary. So they're all doing their own little figure eight dance, okay? The galaxy is spinning. Everything's moving in different directions. But when we look up at the star-filled sky, none of the stars ever change. Go out tonight, take a picture, put a note in your calendar to do the same picture, same time, next year, same day, in 10 years, same day. None of the stars will change at all. How is that possible? That's impossible.
Or have ever changed, as far as I know, right? They go back, they've been doing...
So think about this. You know what parallax is? When you're moving, things change position. Like as you move, things change position, right? Things closer, you move faster. Things farther, move slower. Never once in history have two stars in the sky crossed each other's path. Okay? That should be happening every day, every minute, every all the time. We should see stars. Oh, that star is now on the left of that star. That star moved over here. None of the stars ever move. Game over. Earth is flat. Stars are fixed in the sky. What are planets? Well, they're wandering stars. Those are the only ones that move. What are they? I wish I knew. I could speculate all day, but we'll
get into some speculation because I think it's warranted. The thumbnail for this episode is a spaceman in space, and where the tag is fake and gay. Because one of the things that I think is really, as I became an Orthodox Christian and went and started getting into more into what the Bible says about the firmament and all the rest of it, one of the big things that really hit me was that space itself is gay. Like it's fake.
Like, fake and gay.
Like, it's fake and gay.
Love the thumbnail, by the way. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all.
I'm always a little. If I'm a little bit nervous, I know I'm on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe like David, what are your thoughts on space itself? Because it's fake and gay. Okay.
Well, I think that's just to jump in. Like, I think this is one of the things again that clouds the subject and gets such a reaction out of people, because one thing leads to another. And so if you say, well, the evidence shows that we're on a flat stationary plane, then that has to follow on that. Well, and that's why, again, this is the biggest conspiracy of all of them, because if that is the case, then everything you've been told about NASA, everything, all of Star Trek, all of Star Wars, all these things come into question. And that's terrifying for people who grew up with lightsabers and Millennium Falcon toys. And, all it's so ingrained into us from the word go.
But here's the thing. Truth in the movies, lies in the news. There is a lot of truth in Star Wars. Wait a minute, how is that possible? Space is fake and gay. Well, it's an analogy for what's really going on down here, right, in my opinion. It's a story about the other planets, the other pieces of the plane, the other ponds, the other worlds across our plane. And everything in Star Wars is in that story. Have you guys read The Navigator Across the Ice Wall?
No.
So in the books, in the book section of my app, it's a really short book, and it's great. It's literally like this thick and giant type and pictures. Navigator Across the Ice Wall, right here, and it talks about these other lands beyond Antarctica. And there's lots of books that are very realistic, and this is supposedly based on a true story. No proof of it. And it talks about there's hostile lands and there's the custodians. I'll call them Starfleet or whatever, and they're the ones that let you go from place to place and protect you from the hostile lands. And there's wars going on and all sorts of stuff. And they say that that you have to be of a certain energetic vibration, if you will, for lack of a better word, to travel between some of these worlds. Like these worlds won't let low vibrating people in. I get it. I love it. And they say that every human has a connection to the source, the creator, right? The source. What does that sound like? The force. Okay. Right. It's the same thing. You read this book, it's Star Wars here on Earth where it actually could be real because space is fake and gay and scientifically impossible. But if the Earth is flat, which it is, perhaps there is more land way beyond Antarctica. Maybe there are other worlds out there.
Well, isn't that Admiral Byrd, right, who went there in whatever it was, the 40s, I think, post-World War II. And to me, this makes perfect sense. If you are, like I said, an explorer-type personality, just look at historically. I mean, the last time new land was discovered, circa 1492 or whatever the date was, what happened? Everybody went there, fought a war, and was independent for 300 years. It took them until 1913 to get control over it again. And so if you're the whoever it is, the powers that be, and in the mid 19th century you obtain the technology, the wherewithal to get over the ice wall or whatever it is, and you discover new lands, you going to tell people about it, or are you going to say no, this is
there's
it.
a lot
this
of
is
things.
It. This is all there is.
Yeah. This is all that there is. This is it. Just to show you how fake and gay space is, check this out. Prada is going to design the new moon suits. Okay. This is friggin' NASA. Okay. All right. This is them poking at us constantly. I mean, when you understand.
Did Kanye just not? Was it
Balenciaga? What?
Balenciaga just didn't get lost out of the deal.
Listen, if anyone understands high effective engineering with temperature and heat and a suit that can be heating you 200 degrees on one side while cooling you 200 degrees on the other side simultaneously.
No, with 1960s batteries. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Give me one of those suits, put somebody in it and put them in Death Valley in July for an hour. See if they live. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. Right.
Well, that's the interesting thing. They could disprove everything you say like a lot of ways, just by very simple things.
They won't.
Well, given everything they say they have right now, it should be like just take one guy with a phone and live stream it. I want to see them.
Mark
going
Sargent
up, putting
offers
on the
to
suit,
go into a vacuum chamber with put him and another astronaut in a spacesuit and put him in a vacuum chamber. Won't do it. They tried that in the 60s or 70s. Before they even got all the air out of it, the guy's tongue started boiling, he passed out. They had to repressurize it. Super dangerous, super fast, just to save him from dying. And then they never tried it again. Here is these are articles that come out that there's every other day there's a new one. 23 bozai dogs, right? An asteroid the size of 32 tuna fish. Okay, another one. A Darth Vader. How big is a Darth Vader? Okay, this is an eggplant, right? It's crazy what they're doing. 87 matzahs, and guess what day that one came by? Guess what day?
Yom Kippur.
Passover.
What's the matzah
Come
holiday?
on,
Yeah,
man.
right.
Passover. Is that? I don't even know if that's the matzah holiday, to be honest. But
I
it
don't know
passed
either.
over. That's how I was looking
Yeah.
at it. And they just go on, and then they even rub it in our face. Like all the stuff, but hot dogs. And we know if you're into research, what are hot dogs? What are they referring to? They're constantly.
All of a sudden, Obama was very, very interested in this news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the dumbest crap ever. Dumbest crap ever. But people just gobble it up. They're like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, didn't they actually put out one that's like said Uranus smells like farts?
Oh
Was that
yeah,
not
Uranus
the
smells like
actual
farts.
NASA? Yeah.
No, that was a NASA article, 100%. And the other thing is, Werner von Braun, the Nazi scientist that came over in Project Paperclip, which is also a nonsense project, but that's the story we're sold. Because there was no rocket scientists, it was just rocket deceivers playing together. So we brought Werner von Braun over, put him ahead of NASA. He wrote a book in 1957 called Project Mars, and this was the cover of the book. And Elon Musk built this to go to Mars. Okay. And in his book, the leader of the people that went to Mars and started the civilization, his name is Elon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right,
a little,
game
it's
over.
a little convenient.
Little convenient.
So that's, I mean, we've done, obviously the next week we're having a friend or fed on Alex Jones to discuss whether or not, what is his position, but we've also done one on Elon. And I think he's a very interesting figure when it comes to space.
You're
exploration.
You're analyzing Alex Jones. You're trying to decide what his deal is.
Well, I think everyone's got their own opinion. We're gonna have a lively debate. You're invited to come back for that. It'll be next Friday. Yeah, I think everybody's got an opinion on that guy, but we don't want to spoil it now.
Let me just give you my 2 cents on him. He's the one that woke me up. He's the first guy I ever heard. One of the first guys that woke me up, and then I outgrown him. He had me on his show, and I woke up a crap ton of his audience and half of his staff. Okay, he's had Eddie Bravo on many times talking about it. Greg Reese, one of his best reporters, was at the conference and did a fantastic presentation. And Greg did a fantastic video last time he was at our conference about Antarctica. Mind-blowing. Awesome stuff. Alex was trying to book a trip to Antarctica. He's like, we got to go to Antarctica. He was fascinated. And he was going to spend $1 million on it, or whatever it took. And then he found out he couldn't do it. And he just kind of gave up. So does that make him not a shill? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying give me 10 more Alex Joneses, whether he's a shill or not. I'll take 10 more because he's waking up people left and right. Now, is he gatekeeping people? Maybe some, but other people break out of that gate and they move on from there.
That's fair. Well, there goes our show.
So, sorry. Next show.
So, Dave, one of your I guess your main theory, we'll just call it that, is that the base of the world we live in is more or less a pond. That Antarctica, being the highest ice shelf, is sort of the lip of the container that we're in. So that the poles are essentially like we live inside a big bowl on a flat plane surrounded by ice. Now,
like that.
Now, I'll let you explain more of it. My initial question, of course, is what about the sides? Like, if we're assuming that there's Antarctica stretched all around us, essentially, why has no one hit any ice shelves to the left or right of us, or the east or west of us, or have they? And we're just not being told that information.
So, point in any direction. I'm going to be Kreskin. I'm closing my eyes. Point in any direction. Are you pointing? Mm-hmm. Just point somewhere parallel to the ground. Yes? You're pointing south. I guarantee you I'm right. There's no chance I'm wrong because every straight line goes to south. Okay? You can't go east or west and end up in the south. Okay? Because let me show you how that works. All right. And this is true on a ball and on a flat earth. And actually, circumnavigation proves the earth is flat. Here's a magnet in the center. I got this boat plane, whatever you want to call it. It's a compass. And the needle is pointing towards the north. So I'm trying to push this compass west. And I have to keep turning to the right to maintain a heading of 270 degrees west. West is a circle around the center, whether you're on a globe or not. East, I'm heading 90 degrees. Look at the needle. The needle always has to point towards the center to maintain that. So east and west are circles, right? Globe trolls don't even know that. It's a fact. It's not a theory. Now, if I try to dead reckon west, so it's here, I'm pointing in any direction. So I'm pointing west from this position. As soon as I start moving, I'm heading south. South is every direction away from the center. Every direction away from the center. So that's south, that's south, that's south, that's south. Okay. Now, if I go right here and I'm heading south towards, I'll head out. I'll head south. Hold on a second. Let me just forward a little bit. So I'm heading south, 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 and I'll never come back. I'll never pop up over here. If it was a ball, I should. Right now, I'm going north, 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 and as soon as I pass the North Pole, the compass does a 180, and now I'm heading south. Every line, every straight line. If it's not south immediately, it's south eventually. How's that?
Yeah, I mean,
blow your mind.
It's perfectly sensible, right? It's not even it's so basic. I struggle to understand why people. Again, the only thing is they've never had someone explain it to them,
right?
But I had something and I forgot it. So we have many. I don't know if you want to go through more examples. I keep thinking of other topics, but
how about sunsets? Because that sunsets is one that gets a lot of people.
Well, so that's what twilight. So if you watch, like I live really high up, and you can watch the sun set
for a long time.
You want to say, right? And if you're looking in the opposite direction, if what it's doing is going behind a curve, what should happen is that it would be the sky in the opposite direction of where the sun sets should be in shadow, but it's not. You get twilight. You get the same sort of blue hue from one side to the complete other side, and it all sort of dims together the way it would if a light was getting further away, not being crested by something that's blocking it.
Think about this, right? So you got the sun, right? So I'm standing here, right? I'm on the top, and I'm falling over backwards, and the sun goes down below my horizon, okay? This shadow should sweep up from behind me across the sky and rip out in front of me. Never happens.
Right.
Never
you should
happens.
see stars in the opposite direction of the sunset.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But the shadow, like, of the Earth should rip up, like, get a ball and shine a light, bring a light and bring the light down, and that's the only light in the room. You'll see that ball shadow go right up, rip over the ceiling. It'll come from away and it'll come towards you. That never happens. Okay. So how does the sun set on a flat Earth? Well, it's all perspective. Well, what about on a clear day on perfectly, where there's no mountains in the distance and there's no clouds? The atmosphere becomes opaque over distance. So let me show you. So here's our grid of perspective. Everything goes to a vanishing point. We were taught that in art class, and the ground ramps up to your eye level. The sky goes down to your eye level. So we got this guy. Here's his eye level, this line right here. All right. I throw this mountain in front of him. I don't need to tell you, the top of this mountain is thousands of feet above this guy's head. We can all agree on that. The sun's above that. All right. Now I'm just going to move the sun away. It's going away. It's not going down. It's going away. It's going beyond the mountain. So now, we know that the sun isn't below the horizon. It's just behind the mountain. How could he see it again? He could go up in this, fly up in the air and he can see it, or he can move backwards. If he went backwards, and let's say there's just farmland behind him, he can go backwards, and the mountain would get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Then we fill in the sides because you can see farther. And so this is what he would see from, 10 miles away, 20 miles away. And now he can see the sun again. But we also know that the top of this mountain right here is thousands of feet above his eyes. But it looks like it's at his eye level. But perspective has merged it into the horizon. Now the sun goes farther away. It's beyond the mountain again. So now let's add the sky. Now we have these clouds, and the clouds are doing the same thing. These clouds are all merging into the horizon. And we'll watch the sun go to above them, and it just goes beyond. Now, right here, this mountaintop, as we said before, is thousands of feet above his eyes. These clouds that are merging into that same horizontal eye zone are thousands of feet above the mountaintop, and the sun is above that. It simply just went beyond it. It
Right.
simply just went beyond it. That's it.
Well, and everyone experiences this in a way they can understand. I mean, that's a great example. But just watch an airplane come from far, and it happens really quick, so you can observe it, and it goes straight up, and then as it passes you, then goes straight down, and you know that it's
Right.
flying level, right? It's flying at the same altitude the entire time, but it does.
Right.
It perfectly illustrates how angular resolution affects the way that you experience something. It looks like it's going up and it looks like it's going down. So why wouldn't the other things in the sky do the same thing? Speaking of other things in the sky, the moon. To me, this is one there's so much there, and there's so much mythology built around it. Obviously, the moon landing being the big thing because we went there. Personally, I don't think it's a place. I think it's more like a rainbow where we all see it, but you can't actually go there and get your pot of gold.
I'm with you.
But there's a few things about it. So obviously, one is the phases of the moon. Now, I believe the common conception is that those are caused by the Earth blocking the sun, or the sun is over there. But I'm sure you've looked into this enough, because that doesn't line up. As far as I know, it's established that is not the case, and they just don't know. What is the common science of what causes the phases, and what do you think?
So did you just say that the Earth blocking the sun causes the phases of the moon?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's incredible that even flat earthers believe that, because that's not even the heliocentric model. That's
Right.
an eclipse.
Right.
Okay. That's an eclipse. And it's like, I heard someone say that. I'm like, oh, this person just, everyone's saying it. I'm like, what happened? Did people miss flat earth class that day? The heliocentric model, which is baloney, fake and gay, doesn't claim that. It just claims that the position of the moon to us and the sun, when there's a new moon, the sun is lighting the back of the moon, not the dark side of the moon. That's Pink Floyd, right? They screwed everybody up with that. And like, for example, here's a picture of the sun. Well, why is the moon lit up there? It should be lit up over here. So the sun is beyond the moon. This could also be perspective. This could be higher than that, but it's farther away, so it looks lower. Perspective does some really funny things. If we had time, I could show you some really cool stuff. And if the moon is a sphere, doesn't mean that the Earth is a sphere. Okay, the lights in my ceiling are round. My floor is flat. One has nothing to do with the other. Okay, I personally think that the moon is a sphere. I don't know. I could be wrong though. Okay, I could be wrong. It has nothing to do with the shape of the floor. But I don't think the moon is a physical place. I think it's the moon that we see is plasma, if you will, or some sort of projection from the actual moon, which is beyond it. Have you seen my latest video on the eclipse where we can see the source sun, in my opinion?
Nope. Have you got it?
I can show you the old one. Hold on a second. I'll pull up eclipses. This might help you. And again, we don't know lots of stuff, but we're willing to know that we don't know. Okay. We're willing to know that we don't know. So real quick, let me show you this. So this is NASA took this Discover satellite, took a picture during the eclipse, showed the other day, and showed this looks like a diarrhea stain, but they're saying this is the shadow on the United States during the eclipse, right? So if we look at the Earth here, this is the picture. It's a full Earth. That means that the sun is right here. The sun would be right here because it's a full Earth. It has to be directly in line. How do we get a shadow all the way over there? Why wouldn't the shadow be over here? I mean, you could claim that it's offset a little bit and they see it. I don't know. But this picture is just so stupid. I mean,
and of course, NASA is claiming that that's a real photo.
Yeah, real photo. And again, look at all these clouds. I mean, these clouds here are like as bigger than the United States. I know people in Canada that had a perfectly clear day that day during the eclipse. Where are all these clouds?
Yeah, it was fine where I was.
Yeah, if somebody breaks this out, looks at it and compares it to real weather data, forget it. Forget it.
Well, I have saved in my phone for whenever I get into these arguments 2 pictures from, and this is because I've seen someone try to debunk it, said something's from the NASA website and they go nuts about that. But I have 2 that I know I took personally from the NASA website where they're pictures of Earth from the moon, and the Earth is about 10 times larger in one of them than the other one, which is
I got you.
incredible.
They'll just claim that one is zoomed in. One is zoomed in, one's not. You can argue.
You can see the moon. You can see the moon in both of them. So you can't
Right.
even claim that. Right? Like the moon is, they always put it in the foreground, and then you have the Earth in the background. But yeah. So
let me show you this real quick. But this is good. All right, good. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to move on to the brightness of the moon. But
so real quick, let me just show you this. So this is an eclipse that I filmed. Okay, and it was a hazy day, so it was really easy to film it. And I stared at the eclipse for an hour and a half, and nothing happened other than my eyesight got better. This is a eclipse we're filming, and we see this. Now, this is a lens flare because it's moving around, but this one's locked into position. Like, what is it? We had camera people trying to figure out, like, why is that locked in position? Okay. And the eclipse this is like showing like an 85% eclipse right here. And it was an 85% eclipse. This is just so bright, it's blowing out the camera lens. But, if you put sunglasses on, you would see that this is matching. So I claim that this is the source sun. Okay. This is the source sun. So what do I mean by that? Here I'm recreating an eclipse. I think that the sun and the moon that we see are projected into our sky screen. So I got my paper towel sky screen. I got my source sun over here. I got my eclipsing body that has no light on it. So you don't see the eclipse coming in. No one ever seen the moon approach, eclipse, or exit the moon. They just see missing sun. Right. You can't see that bottle cap moon. Okay. So it's there. Then I said, wait a minute. What if the sky was more transparent? So I got my toilet paper sky, and I brought in an eclipse from behind. Here's the projector. This is the source sun. This is the actual sun that we see. This is the projector behind the sky. And when you compare it to the actual eclipse and my model eclipse, show me something better.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the thing that gets me with the moon and the hot spot on the clouds. Like, anyone can go outside on a cloudy night and you see the moon and you see it lighting up the clouds right below it very distinctly. It's bright right near to the moon, which anyone can go in a dark room with a piece of paper and a flashlight and hold the flashlight up close to the piece of paper, and you're going to get that hot spot on the piece of paper, and you back it away what would be the equivalent of 250,000 miles, give or take. And it's not going to do that. So how does the moon do that? Like, that's just, get anyone in regular science explain that to me, like I'm as educated as I am, which is not much.
Why is it lit up here? How is that happening? Why is it perfectly dark over here? Because you can only do that with a local sun. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the moon is right above the clouds? Yes.
That's what it looks like.
Well, but then how come airplanes don't crash into it? How come airplanes don't crash into it? It's like a rainbow, as you said.
Like a rainbow. Yeah.
As you move, when you're a kid, you're driving down the road and you're like, Mom, the moon's following me. No, it's not. Well, yeah, it was actually. It actually does follow you. Okay. And when you go up, it goes up. And when you get to a point where you're up so high, the sun and the moon can't go any higher. So when we send a balloon up to 120,000 feet,
right, they're right there.
It's right there. So when someone says, how far is the sun? I'm like, 20, 25 miles, maybe. Okay. That sounds crazy. That's just me. Nobody can prove me wrong. Nobody can prove me right. But if you look, we got a hot spot right here from a local light. Okay. Look at it. Is that 93 million miles away? You can't answer that because you can't even fathom what 93 million miles is. You can't. And that's a tiny number in cosmology. Trillions.
And it's always, everything is always so far when they explain, well, why don't the stars move? Why have the stars never moved in all of human history? Like, well, because they're so far away.
Billions and billions and billions.
For me, as soon as you need to invoke billions and billions of anything, whether it's years, light years, miles, I don't listen to you anymore because you've invalidated anything you can have to say.
They have an error factor of hundreds of billions. Okay, it's trillions and quadrillions and that they're talking about. A trillion seconds. You guys have heard me say this. A trillion seconds. You guys both know?
Remind me.
A trillion seconds. Okay, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years. with me?
It's a lot of seconds.
31,000 years. The closest star, other than our sun, that's allegedly a star, is 4.5 light years, 25 trillion miles away. So if we were in a spaceship going a mile per second, no one's ever gone that fast, it would take us 31,000 years to go 1/25th of the way to that star. Got to do that 25 more times. By then, I'm going to kill you because you're driving me nuts. Okay,
but the light from those things gets to us unpolluted because there's no pollution in space, even though space is full of stuff.
Because magic.
The inverse square law: light spreads out. Light spreads out, right?
Yeah.
If I blew up this balloon, it spreads out. If I blew up this balloon to be 10 feet wide, there would be very little rubber on it. That would be the light. As it expands, it just gets bigger and bigger and spreads out, gets dimmer and dimmer, just like the sun faded out.
Well, that's why even a laser only travels so far, because even lasers eventually spread out and become too diffuse, right? But a star is
even lasers,
perfect.
Correct.
Yeah. But stars' random light goes forever, and again, it goes counter to stuff we even experience in our own like basic day-to-day lives. They I don't know how, but it's really remarkable. Like if you travel at night, if you ever driven a far distance through an empty place and you're going to a city that's like a few hours away, and you'll see it come, you'll see the light come into view within about an hour away from the city. You start seeing the light, but you drive away, that light disappears. So light doesn't travel forever. Again, they say, well, that's because of our atmosphere is so thick that light can't travel through it. Space is supposed to be full of gas nebulas and all kinds of stuff. You can't say that it's just this perfect, because it's a vacuum. It's also not empty. But yeah, I mean,
well, it goes to, we had a conversation a while back about evolution and evolution being fake and gay, and the idea that it works in the theory. All these little stories work completely fine in a very small, isolated sense. And as soon as you start asking questions outside of that little tiny box that they try to put you in, everything starts falling apart in terms of like, well, wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that the entire universe came out of a chaotic event for no reason, and yet perfect and total order, the only thing that we exist in, that we can comprehend, that we have a relationship to, spontaneously created on Earth for no reason, and we're here for no reason just because. Like the amount of things that you're left to accept blindly, right? That doesn't work anywhere else. Like you have no relationship to it in your life. Like everything has a perfect order and reason, like and function on this Earth. But yet that was created out of pure complete chaos because
right. So here's the thing,
because
some people just don't want to believe in God. That's really
is it all post hoc rationalization for not, like, because if you say I don't believe that, then you gotta go with God. You got to go with at least humility.
Well, here's the thing. I was, I guess it's horrifying for me to say it. I was a full-on atheist. I didn't really pay any attention. I just didn't believe in any of that. I didn't believe in any. Yeah. And I believe in evolution. I believe in the Big Bang because I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that a Jesuit priest made up the Big Bang. Right. And I didn't really think about what the Big Bang even means. Right. The Big Bang is literally the story of conception. There's a Big Bang, and there's a spark, and then there's a zygote, and then it grows, and it turns into, it looks like a little monkey, and then it turns into a human. Okay, it looks like a fish at first, right? It's literally the story of conception. So that's once you understand that the Earth is intelligently designed, that we're at the center of creation, then you start taking your power back, and that's what they don't want. They don't want you in a position where you can't deny creation. Okay, because once you understand the Earth is a level, non-rotating, horizontal, intelligently designed plane, you have no choice but to understand that there's a creator. And that's where I draw the line. There's a lot of people like, well, if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to hell. Whatever. There's a creator. Deal with it. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all I say. So my job, I've been appointed somehow, or maybe I did it myself. Who knows? Maybe, I'm a piece of God, is to help people see that we are at the center of creation, that we have incredible power, and none of these rules, laws, nothing applies to us. Only natural law applies to us. Only natural law.
Amen, brother. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is kind of what we keep cycling back to. I think one of the fascinating things that the events of 2020 kind of lifted the veil for myself and many others is that you start to understand that all the old lies are starting to fall apart now because we have enough technology. We've gone far enough forward that, like, for example, the moon landing, and Owen Benjamin's been really good on this, like pointing out pictures of the moon landing.
He's so good.
what they've tried. We'll try to get you both on at some point, but the idea that there's the lunar unit thing that they show, it's like, come on, man, like you wouldn't use that. We wouldn't use that today. Like you look at the Mars lander unit that they have now that supposedly is real, which isn't, but whatever, right? Like, that's way more advanced. That's way more. It's way more current. But in the 1950s, that paper mache thing with tinfoil.
What this? Come on, this is a rocket ship. Look at this thing; it's amazing. Look at the paneling there. It's so
you can see
good.
The stitches and the duct tape work.
Like Elon said, they've resorted to it's real because it looks so fake. Like they're not even trying with the propaganda anymore. It's just you believe this because everything backs it up, and so that's. Again, I'm very firmly in the. I mean, me and Jason sort of bonded over a shared love of Christopher Hitchens back in the day. We're both big into the new atheist thing, and then have gone through our own personal journeys into like, okay, it's the humility of knowing there's a power greater than you, and I think that whether they've invented this model because they want to deny that, or they've done it on purpose to hide that, I'm not sure.
They're hiding thoughts? It because if you believe, they want you living in a godless world. They want you feeling like you need the government to survive, that you need to pay taxes to keep the government funded, that that there's a shortage of food, shortage of energy.
Right.
All of this is nonsense. And if you start looking into like radium energy and all sorts of stuff that they tell you is really bad. And the way people used to travel in gigantic airships, bigger than cruise ships, they hold thousands of people all across the realm. All of this stuff has been hidden from us. It's just a couple hundred years old, and that's it. But it's all been hidden. When you look into our history, let me ask you a question. $38 million in 1970 for a couple of beach chairs,
for a Jeep,
and an umbrella, okay? Or for only $37 million today, you can have this puppy right here, okay? All right? Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, even just with telecommunications, right? Like this is, I think, what blows it out is that to send a signal now, you need this a massive van with like actual real satellites and like antennas and like all this equipment. And then you look at this thing, you're like, so you're telling me that they sent an actual photograph? They send photographs, video, and audio from the moon, all that way away to Earth, received crystal clear from with this thing, with like
why don't we they teach us in school about you have the Van Allen radiation belt, you have the mesosphere, you got all these different belts, and they protect us from the cosmic rays, as the X-rays, the gamma rays that are coming from space. We'd all be fried without those without all of these layers, right? We're all taught that in school, right? You with me?
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm in Australia. The ozone layer is a big talking point here. Why everyone has cancer down here. Yeah.
So it protects us from all of those, but a battery-powered radio signal can go right through that to the White House. Okay? Go right to the White House.
To a landline.
All right. To a landline. Well, it went to a tower, and then it went over to landline. That makes sense. But how are they powering that? How is it going there? I showed this picture. Like this is when they first landed on the moon, but they have this picture now. Allegedly, this is from when they were orbiting in a previous mission. Okay, I don't know. It's all just
that's the picture I was talking about before. Where you could see the moon in the foreground. They get the Earth in the background. They have another one with the moon in the same foreground, and the Earth is 6 times larger. Okay, explain that.
Yeah.
It brings me back to the I think that the meta analysis of this is if they can convince you that, and this is always it, I think, if they can convince you there's no God and we know everything, then you have to rely on them, and you'll lose faith in faith. You'll lose faith in the humanity, and even things like an immune system, right? If you look at the again, we've got to watch our words. We're on YouTube, but what happened with the past 3 years, you can get people to, if they're scared, which is if you break that bond between them and the higher power, then they're really easy to get scared. Then they're really easy to manipulate.
If you have people believing that they're on a spinning ball flying through an infinite, scary dark vacuum of space, which is impossible, you can have them believing everything. If you don't have your feet planted on the ground, connected to this realm, to this dielectric electric plane that we live on, then you're depowering that person. We literally live in this energetic system. We are all part of the system. We can't live anywhere else but along this plane in these physical bodies. And when you understand that and you take your power back, everything changes. I wanted to show you, just read you one quick thing. Divine law is the law of God. That's what I'm talking about. Natural law. Common law is the law of the land, and in statute and admiral maritime law is the law of the sea and man's law. In order to convince a man to give up his divine rights, which are the God-given rights, and their common rights, you have to convince them that they're not divinely created in a divine world. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're convincing us that we are meaningless, that we are worthless, that we are specks of dust, that we have there's nothing else. We're worm food when we're done, and that we need to obey the government. The government's trying to put themselves above us. There's God, then there's man, and then we put government below us. Okay, we are their bosses. We are above them on the pyramid, but people don't realize that. People, allow themselves to be robbed every paycheck, right? And people willingly do it because they go, what about Al Capone and Wesley Snipes? Okay. Yeah. If anyone wants to know how to get around that, send me an email. I got somebody that will tell you amazing things, super simple, super easy, and more importantly, 100% legal.
Before we sign out here, David, Jonathan, who sent us a $10 super chat, wants to ask the question. He says that I've read the ancient Native American civilizations study the stars and they did not move. I'm assuming
and
the
they
stars
did move.
And they did move, sorry. And they showed that there was a wobble on the Earth's axis. Of course, my adjunct to that is Native Americans. If you can't figure out a wheel, I don't care.
My comment to that is,
aren't we all dead right now?
Cool story, bro. Okay, it's a wobble. We had the Georgia Guidestones that showed Polaris through that little tiny hole in the middle, and it stayed there for over 40 years. Well, in the wobble, we moved over a half a degree in 40 years. A half a degree is like 1.5 moon widths, right? It would have been long out of that hole. It was still there. And when we started pointing that out on every podcast, that it actually proves that we're not moving, a terrorist blew up the Georgia Guidestones. Could you imagine?
Okay, I was wondering why they did that. Now
yeah.
Well, I think just to touch back what I said, I think a lot of the old lies are getting revamped now. It explains why they're leaning into aliens, they're leaning into a lot of the other things just to distract everyone, to reformat the new lies, because the old lies are not working anymore, and more people going, wait a minute, hang on a second, right? Like this doesn't work. And the thing that you could sell us, you could sell humanity on in 1850 worked because people's understanding of anything was minute, and you could put some people in Oxford, Harvard, and be very authoritative and an expert looking, and everyone goes, okay, well, they must know something, right?
Well, and information was all gate kept, right? There wasn't YouTube, and for as much flack as we give them, it's a civilizational changing, powerful tool. There's the ability, and I won't shut up about the ability for people to talk freely like this. As long as we have it, enjoy it. Because
one point on the Georgia Guidestones is this proved that we're not moving, so they destroyed it. But the pyramids have a shaft that also points towards Polaris. Right. You know what the Globers say about that? Oh, it used to point towards Thuban 2,000 years ago, and it's been drifting through empty space, and we just happen to live in the time where it's pointing towards Polaris. But it'll eventually be pointing towards another star. Cool story, bro. Provenly wrong.
Them.
Yeah,
they were there. They were there 20,000 years ago when it pointed at the other one. So Michael is asking in the chat, what's beyond Antarctica? We touched on it briefly. We don't know. I think someone knows, and that's why they put a lot of money into convincing us they went to space and showing us pictures of a round ball and saying this is it. But I'm assuming more land. I'm assuming more
What's
stuff.
out here? If there's more land and somebody lived out here on this extra territory, we might call them an extraterrestrial from the outer space. Okay, we don't know what's out there, right? So here's if the world was set up like this, and they cut this out, okay, oh my God, and they cut it out, wrapped it around a sphere, and said, "This is where you live. You're not allowed to go here because we don't want to disturb the penguins." Right? Right? We don't disturb the penguins. This is where you live. Well, how would you ever know? And this is all guarded. There's military bases all around here, 7 or 8 of them. And you're not allowed to go there. So what does this do? This puts you in a prison for your mind. The globe is a prison for your mind, and it stops you from reaching your full potential. Well, how does it stop me? I still have to go to work. You know what? I used to say that. I don't have to go to work on Monday. I don't even know what today is. What is today? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Wait till you come to Australia, then you have absolutely no idea.
I've been to Australia. Flat earthers don't think Australia exists. That's a friggin' meme. You know, listen, if the globe was real,
I'm actually in New Jersey, but
why would they need to straw man us? Okay. Why would they need to straw man us on all their arguments? Why doesn't Neil deGrasse Tyson have a Thursday night special at prime time on NBC and show us the proof of the globe? Because he can't. Because there is none. All right? There is none. You can find all my stuff at flatearthdave.com. Come collect your 3 Bitcoins. Come learn about the Flat Earth. The app I was showing, that's my app, and it goes by YouTube censorship because YouTube is hiding everything. Search Flat Earth. You won't find anything. Good.
David, thank you so much. Again, folks, this seems to be the topic that riles people up the most.
Riles me up.
The chat's been
have to go back and read the chat after and see. Yeah,
it's going all over the place. But thank you so much. Again, this is part of our Conspiracy Month that's leading up to Alex Jones' Friend or Fed on November 3rd. We'll have many of the people that you saw over the course of this last month back on to discuss that whole subject. Dave, any last words? If you want to get, I know you plugged your website, but anything else you want to plug?
Everything, all my channels. You can find all my interviews, all my short videos. You can find the crash course. If you don't want to get the app, that's fine. Go to my website, flatearthdave.com. Scroll down to the crash course. Watch those videos. Turn off Netflix for a week or forever, and watch those videos. They're so well made. They're so entertaining. And my challenge is watch 3 of them, and you can't believe in the flat Earth, in the globe anymore. It's scientifically impossible to watch 3 of those and still believe you live on a spinning water space ball in a vacuum, a void. There's so much more to say. There's so much about gas.
It's such a hard topic. I'm never using it out of words, but
gas violently fills the available space. That's provable science. Except in space, there's so much gas it collapses and creates a nuclear furnace that burns. I think it's 600 billion tons a day, but never loses any of its gravity. Our sun burns 600 billion tons a day, or something ridiculous like that, every day for billions of years, but it hasn't lost any mass, and it still has the same gravity. And our sun's made out of helium and hydrogen, which defies gravity here on Earth, but it holds on to Pluto and Saturn and Earth and ignores our moons. It goes on forever.
Check out Dave's videos. He goes on, and they're all this. They're all this interesting, all fascinating. Thank you so much, Dave.
All right, man. Good time. See you.